Nice to meet you. We're doing
So today we are here with Mr. Wade Gordon-Hagler, owner of Wade Gordon-Salons and School.
Yes, yeah, men's only.
Men's
Also,
only.
Yeah.
Okay. So we're going to talk a little bit about what brought you here,
Okay.
a little bit about your business path, what you do to earn a living.
Okay.
So just kind of share with us your story.
Yeah. So I'm 50 years old. So I started a little over 30 years ago in the industry. Let's back up a little more. I was not a great student in high school. I really enjoyed drama class and wrestling, and I wasn't a good enough wrestler to get a scholarship, and I was not a good enough actor to make it in Hollywood. So I had to figure something out. Truth be told, I actually did not even graduate high school, which is really a sad story, and I'm not very proud of that. I was a horrible student, but I did go get my GED, and did that later in life, which I'm very proud to say. So I learned at a very young age that I wanted to have a nice lifestyle. I grew up very poor, and just desired, to have nicer things. So I had a friend at the time that was in hair school. I was just graduating high school. She said, "Man, you really need to check this out. I think you'd like it." So I went, interviewed, and got into it for all the wrong reasons. I actually had hair at the time, so I had long hair. I was like, "Oh, I can have long hair and I can be around hot chicks. Sign me up." So, but really got into it for the wrong reasons. And after I got on the floor and I started actually doing hair, I had this client. She was probably 10 years old, and I did a spiral perm on her, which takes hours and hours and hours. It's a ridiculously long process, and then I put layers in her hair and I styled out. And I mean, when I turned her around, showed her in the mirror, all of a sudden she had this beautiful smile and just lit up the room. And the owner of the school I went to was like, "Oh my gosh, who did this girl's hair?" She was bouncing out into the waiting area. And I said, I did it. He goes, "Wow, that looks amazing." All the family that was there, "Oh man, it looks so great." So I was addicted. Changing somebody's life, changing the way they look at themselves, the way they feel about themselves, and giving them confidence was a very addicting feeling. So I really wanted to have that experience every single time behind the chair. So I knew right out of school I really needed to up my game. I needed to get more education. There's only so much at the time, especially the school I went to, there's only so much that I could really learn. So in 1991, I moved to Dallas, Texas, and I got on with a company called Tony & Guy. It was an international company, the strongest hairdressing company in the world. And I got on as an apprentice. I was actually Guy Mascalo's apprentice, and I would shampoo all of his clients, take care of him, wait on him hand and foot. But in between that, I also scrubbed toilets and did all the less tasteful duties.
No job too small.
No job too small. Learned how to really sweep hair really well. But what I learned from that experience was I wanted the dream, and the dream was this. I wanted my clients to love me, and I wanted to love them, and I wanted to be very successful, and I wanted to change people's lives. And I wanted the total package. I wanted it all. It wasn't just a job. It was definitely a career for me. It was a passion. And I think that's kind of what separates people sometimes from success and just kind of going through the motions.
Do what you love.
Yeah.
Find what you love.
Yes, very much so.
Okay, so you went to Dallas for a while. How did you end up back here?
So I was in Dallas for about 8 years, worked my way up to be a traveling educational director for that company. Traveled all over the country doing hair shows. You're kind of like rock star status. It's really, really fun, but can be very exhausting. And also, it's hard to have a balance in life, and I was newly married, and so being on the road all the time wasn't a healthy lifestyle for my marriage. So I knew I wanted to own a salon. I knew that was one of my main goals. And so I talked with the partners, Bruno Mascalo, and the owners of Tony Guy, and they said, "Man, we'd love to do partnerships with you." So had an opportunity to come back to Amarillo, Texas. Actually had some clients that were flying me back and forth before all this. They just I got introduced to them, and there was a need for really good hair at the time here in Amarillo, and so I was flying back every 6 weeks. I would cut hair all day long, and I'd fly back to Dallas on a late flight. and did that for about a year and a half, and convinced my wife to move to Amarillo. And
From Dallas?
From Dallas, which was pretty tough.
Yes, I can imagine.
Yeah. So, but we did it. You know, we moved here in '97. We opened up a partnership, Tony Guy Salon, and then a few years later, we opened another one in Lubbock, Texas, and I did that for 10 years. And I was growing a different way with my passion and my vision than the company was that I was with, and so we dissolved our partnership in 2007.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then your dream was born.
It was kind of birthed out of that, you know, transition. And I don't know if you remember this, but in 2008, the economy crashed.
Yes.
But I saw that as an opportunity. So I had just created Wade Gordon-Salon, and Gordon is my middle name, and named after one of my grandfathers. And so I saw that as an opportunity because we had this existing salon, high-end salon, that was doing very well. The economy crashes, and I started seeing people that were owning these strip centers that were desperate. So I negotiated a really good deal in a high-end area here called Wolfland, and I mean, deal of a century to open up another high-end salon.
Wow.
Yeah, so we opened up Braxton Paul, which is named after my son.
Okay.
His middle name is Paul, after one of my other grandfathers. So Braxton Paul and Wade Gordon were our two high-end salons that we had.
Okay. So how many do you own here in Amarillo?
So to make the circle come full, I actually transitioned from high-end salons to schools and men's haircutting salons. So right after we had opened up Braxton Paul, we opened up our first school, Wade Gordon Hairdressing Academy. And a few years after that, we decided to merge the high-end salons into one. And then a few years after that, we actually sold it. So we sold out, and we now own 3 schools and 2 men's-only haircuts.
Okay. Okay. So you don't own Braxton Paul anymore?
No, we sold Braxton Paul. Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. So when did you quit cutting? Did you continue?
I have not quit. I actually still cut.
You still cut?
Yeah. In fact, I have clients right after this interview.
Oh, awesome. Okay.
I love cutting. Cutting hair is my passion. Listen, I love business. I love changing people's lives. I love mentoring people. But I also still love what I first fell in love with, and that is doing hair and making people feel good about themselves. And it's an art. You know, it's something that I've perfected my skills. I was not great at it. I heard this about Michael Jordan. I heard he's quoted saying he wasn't the best. He just trained a lot harder than everybody else. And that's kind of how I feel. I've trained really hard to be good at what I do.
And you were willing to sacrifice to get the training you need. You moved.
Yes.
You didn't just settle and stay here.
Yeah, that's right. That's correct.
And you didn't wait for it to come to you either. You went to.
No, a lot of people, you know, have that mindset, you know, of sometimes just, you know, well, something good is going to happen. Well, no, you've got to take the footsteps and the motions to go, you know, and sometimes those doors close, and that's okay. Another door opens. I'm a big believer in the right doors.
Always.
Yeah.
So what was your first job? Do you remember?
My first job ever?
Ever.
My first job ever, I was 14 years old, which is probably illegal. But I was 14 years old, and I worked at the Great American Chocolate Chip Cookie Company.
Oh, yes.
At the mall.
That's my favorite cookie with the hot icing.
Yeah, I had to answer the phone like that every time. That was a long one. But yeah, I had to get up at 6:30 in the morning on Saturdays as a 14-year-old.
Wow.
And go in and start making cookies. It was not the funnest time of my life. So
made you want to do something else.
yes.
Any major takeaways?
From that job? I think I learned that I was good with people. You know, I think that was probably a takeaway I took from that was I had favor.
And that's a gifting.
Yeah.
So, in this industry, what does your typical day look like? And because you're in a different position than maybe just somebody who is just one of your hairstylists, walk us through both. From your side of the house to actually running all of the different schools to somebody who is working for you.
Okay.
What does their day look like?
So, as a hairstylist, as a barber or a hairdresser, let me back up. Let me say this: if you want to be successful in anything you do, you have to do 3 things. Number 1 is you have to be an asset in life, not a liability. So you've got to solve problems and not create problems, right? So number 1, you need to solve problems. Number 2, you need to work hard. That means on a regular basis, you've got to be willing to come in early and leave late. Okay, such a forgotten art.
Yes.
Okay, so solve problems, work hard on a regular basis, and then the last one is smile. Smile, right? Do it with a good attitude, right? So if you'll do those three things in your passion, you're going to find success. Because so many people will, maybe they'll work hard, maybe they solve some problems, but they have a really bad attitude. They're not promotable, right? But if they'll actually solve problems, do it with a good attitude, work hard, you will rise to the top in pretty much anything that you do.
Keys to success.
Anything that you do. And you don't have to have a Harvard business degree to do that, right? We all have this beautiful thing right here called a mind.
That's right.
And if we just simply use that, control our emotions and our thoughts, and choose to have a great day every single day, then now you're onto something, right? You can choose to have a good day. You can choose to smile. You can choose
joy.
to solve problems. That's right. So when you start to do those things, it's contagious. And people around you are like, wow, you know, Susie is always in such a great mood. I don't understand why she's in such a great mood. Man, she's so fun to be around, right? I think Susie would be a great manager. I think Susie would, you know, and so it's just very attractive and people want to be around it.
Well.
That's right. Yeah, and she's solving problems, which is huge in any industry,
Yes.
right? So many people point the finger and the blame instead of just taking the responsibility. It's not your job description. Just do whatever it takes, right, to solve problems that are needed. So
Bring a solution.
So
My husband tells me
so
that.
yeah. So I kind of skirted around that, but I think in this industry, if you will show up early, right, ready to start your day, and be willing to squeeze clients in, and be willing to stay late, and do it with a good attitude, perfect your skills, get the right training. You know, those are the things that build you into being a great barber or hairdresser. Okay, surround yourself with like-minded people. You know, I say this: I prophesy your future, show me your friends. Right? You either like them or you're going to be like them.
That's right. We did an interview with a gentleman from Keller Williams last week, and he said, "Show me who's in the top 5 of your contacts,
Yeah.
and I'll show you who you are." And
Absolutely.
I thought there is so much power in that.
Yeah.
Who do you align yourself closely with?
Big time. So, I don't know if I finished all that. I'm
No,
sorry.
no, I love that.
Okay.
So your typical work day.
So typical work day.
Come early.
So yeah, you've got to show up ready to work, ready to solve problems. And so as a hairdresser, obviously, you know, you're solving problems with every single client. You know, they're coming in and, you know, they want to look their best, right? So you have those challenges. As a business owner in this industry, really in any industry, it's about people. Listen, we're not in the hair industry. We're in the people industry. We just simply are using hair as a tool, right, to reach the people. So when you look at it that way, you're going to make an impact. You're going to make a difference. So making sure that your people are happy, your people are taken care of. You know, I think that has to be at the top of your list.
Relationship building. That is so common in this industry.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I love that. So, for a hairstylist that works for you, walk me through she or his day. Like they come to work, they just start scheduling appointments and.
You know, obviously.
They take a lunch break.
Yeah. So somebody's actually working in the industry, right? A licensed hairdresser or barber. First and foremost, again, it's about building up your clientele, right? If you don't have clients, you're not making any money. So you've got to really focus on building up your clientele. In our industry, if you're an introvert, it's a little more difficult. Not to say you can't. It might take you a little more time to build up that clientele, right? You're going to have to learn how to kind of use those, creative skills of talking and engaging and putting yourself out there a little bit. So the main thing is building up that clientele.
Okay.
And
they
again,
do it themselves. It's not just
That's
somebody
right.
walks in.
There are some shops where, like we have men's only, right? So you're gonna get a lot of walk-ins, but are they gonna come back? That's the main thing is we want those clients to be happy, and if the client doesn't leave happy, then you're failing, right? You've got to figure out what you're doing wrong. So I'd say another key to your success in this industry is taking constructive, I call it mentoring, not criticism. Because if I take the time out of my day to come and talk to you and tell you how to do something better, it's because I'm mentoring you because I care about you. I'm not critiquing you. I'm loving on you. I'm saying, hey, you're doing this way, but there's a better way to do it. You're going to get a better end result if you do it this way, right?
So like in the
has to
sports arena, if a coach isn't
Yeah.
talking to you, there you have a problem.
That's
but when
right.
the coach, with my daughters,
Yeah.
when the coach is on you,
Yeah.
that's a good thing.
That's right.
Yeah.
Same thing.
Taking an interest in you.
Yeah, very much so.
So, in middle, and you didn't find out your passion until the end of your
Out of high school.
Out of high school.
Yeah. And this is the, I think, misconception that everybody thinks they need to know exactly what they're doing. You don't. You have plenty of time.
right.
You have plenty of time. I was very fortunate. I did find it at, the age of, 19-ish.
Yeah.
But, I've got a son that's at the A&M Business School right now, and he still doesn't know what he wants to do, 22 years
okay.
old. And that's okay. That's fine. There's plenty of time. And I think you have to just try different things. You have to expose yourself to different things, to really know, what you're passionate about.
Shadow. If you're interested in this.
That's right. Absolutely.
Do you do that? Do you do any partnerships or any shadowing with
Yeah.
students?
Yeah, we have. We've done that a few times, actually. Several times. Yeah. Yeah. Mhm.
So, if a student listening to this interview were interested in this industry, how would they go about getting involved in it?
I would, first of all, check out all schools, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, compare apples to apples. I think if you want to be the best, you have to
Go to the best.
go to the best. So you have to decide who you think the best is, right? Obviously, we think we're the best.
Absolutely.
but you've got to figure that out. Our instructors are passionate. They all have done hair behind the chair as well as teaching. And so you've got to interview. You've got to interview those schools. You've got to see, what fits you. And then do tours. We schedule tours all the time. We start every single month. In fact, we could really. In fact, we have a little bit of a slogan that says "Call today, start tomorrow." Right.
Oh, wow.
So we're not handcuffed to a semester because we're more of an independent accredited school. So we do have financial aid. We're accredited by NACAS. But we could literally start somebody almost any time. We have the ability to do that.
That's incredible.
Yeah, and it's only 1,000 hours in the state of Texas, so somebody can actually start their career in less than a year.
Wow. So if it's kosher for me to ask, what's just a general idea of the expense?
So a school can cost you anywhere from $8,000 to $15,000, depending on the school. The higher end schools, the schools that really focus on a great education, are going to be 15 to 25. There are some schools out there that are around 25,000, I think, in the larger cities.
Okay.
So, but yeah, I think on the average probably 13 to 15.
So how would a student go about paying for that? Like, is there financial aid?
Yes, so I touched on that. So at Gordon Hairdressing Academy, we are accredited. So we have financial aid through the Department of Education.
Awesome.
So we actually do have help financially.
Okay. Do schools do scholarships for, do they do academic help? I don't really know. Have you seen that come?
We do have a scholarship in place. It's based on a young lady that used to work for me for years and years and years. She passed away with cancer. So we do have a scholarship available. Some schools might. I don't know about other schools, but there are different things that we work with people, as much as we can.
You work with people.
Yeah.
Okay, so basically, if you want to do it, you'll sacrifice whatever you got. You'll just make it happen.
Yeah, that's
you
the
guys
thing.
will assist.
That's the thing. Is if you want something you've never had, you have to do something you've never done, right? And it's such a short time in your life to sacrifice. To make the decisions every day so that you can be at school on time, so you can be focused. You're retaining the information. I'll say it this way: education is the most powerful thing you can ever give yourself. Because nobody can ever take that away from you. Now, you might make mistakes that give you a little bit of a setback in life, but your education, nobody can ever take that away. So you can always build yourself back up. So in this industry, if you come to our school and you really take it all in, nobody can take that away from you. You'll always be able to make a living for yourself. You will always be able to take care of yourself. And that's what I love about this industry. It gives people a future and hope that maybe they never thought they had.
And it's super flexible, and it
Extremely
isn't 4
flexible.
years of their life.
That's right. Yeah, within 9 months, you can be out of here
That's
and
incredible.
start your career. It's amazing. And this industry is so fun. It's really fun. if you enjoy being around people, yeah, you like to maybe set your own schedules, you like to be flexible.
And you're creative. Do
Yeah.
you have to be creative?
Yeah. I will say this. My wife always says I'm very creative. I don't think I'm that creative.
Creative people usually don't, but they are.
But I don't know. I've seen people that aren't creative at all that just absolutely love it because they love being around people and they like making people feel good about themselves, right? So if you're passionate about learning, you're going to do well.
So give us the cons.
The
Give us
cons.
some downsides. What makes this industry difficult?
So we're artists in a sense, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if I cut your hair
Mm-hmm.
and I visualize a certain look that I want, and I feel like I'm feeling what you're wanting, and I do this and I style it out, and I turn you around and you look in the mirror and you're like, it's okay, I don't really like this or this or this. Whoo, that's tough, right?
Oh.
That's tough. And everybody's going to experience that at some point. So you got to learn how to deal with that. And you've got to, that's what should drive you to be your best, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you have to learn from those situations and do really good consultations so you don't continue to have those mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Okay.
So that's probably the
Constructive
biggest,
criticism.
constructive mentoring.
Okay, learning how
Yeah.
to take it.
So that's probably the biggest downfall in the industry, right? Is when somebody doesn't like what you do. That's the tough one. Other than that, I'll be honest with you, I don't see any other downfalls because I absolutely love it, you know. And the more education you get, the more you charge, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you should never just stay at this level. You know,
Wow.
the more
I
you're
like that.
educating yourself, the more in demand that you should be, right? And the more that you should make.
Okay. So your prices change.
They-
So when my
absolutely
hairstylist
should.
goes up, then I know
Yeah.
why it goes up.
Well, absolutely. And think about life, inflation.
Mm-hmm.
You know, are you still paying the same amount for gas that you did 10 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
or groceries?
Mhm.
You know, everything increases, and so you know, in our industry things increase as well. So
Absolutely.
and plus our training and our the one thing that you're never going to get any more of is time, right? So our time is very valuable, and so as you build up that clientele and you become more in demand, then you know you should charge.
Then you're able to charge more.
Yeah.
You're charging for it.
Absolutely.
Great. Okay, so if we have some students interested in this, you've mentioned that you were an education director. I know that you have instructors in your schools that also cut hair. So what are some different career paths in this industry that maybe
Yeah.
not just be a hairstylist?
Sure. Yeah. So if you are called, if you feel like you're more passionate than just simply being a barber behind the chair or a hairdresser behind the chair, there are a lot of different other avenues because you can teach, and there are other companies out there that actually do education on a global,
Wow.
experience. So I've got good friends that travel all over the world.
Oh.
You know, that's all they do. They don't even do hair behind the chair. That's all they do. They're platform artists. They're educational directors, and so they literally travel from state to state and from country to country,
Yeah.
and they literally just teach, and that's all they do. And then, of course, schools. You know, if you get plugged into a school where you could be maybe teaching half the time and the other half the time behind the chair, there's just different avenues that you can do. You could also go into product sales. You know, that's another thing that's really huge. So a lot of people that are very successful on the retail side of it were background were hairdressers. So you could actually work for one of the top retailing companies out there and actually sell products too. So there's just a lot of different avenues that you could go into.
I'm trying to remember yesterday when I was getting ready for this, I read some different articles, and I read that, and I'm going to get this figure wrong, but before COVID, the very first of the year, by February, the industry was on track to do like, oh my gosh, something $1 billion.
Yeah.
I'm so
Yeah.
bad with numbers, but
Yeah.
it was incredible. I didn't even realize, and of
Yeah.
course all of the different things that come products. Y'all,
Yeah.
shampoo was the number one seller of that. Took the
Yeah.
cake for product sales,
Mhm.
but I did not realize it. I mean, I should. I'm a female, but it's
But
a huge.
I'll say this: a
industry.
big part of that is men's grooming. Men's grooming is huge now.
The
Huge.
beards, my husband, yes.
All of it, and they
Yeah.
want their hair to look right.
Yeah.
You know, years ago when the faux hawk first came out, right? David Beckham had it, Brad Pitt wore it, a couple other guys, right? And that was
the thing that goes back like this.
it was kind of an inverted mohawk, right?
Yes.
But it was. My son is 22 now. He was about 4 years old when that came out, And I could only put it on young kids like that.
Uh-huh.
No adult really wanted to wear it until
Yeah.
they started seeing it in Hollywood, right?
Yeah.
And then their wives were like, "Hey, you should
Yeah.
wear that," right? But what's cool is fashion has really evolved where men care about the way they look.
That's right.
And it's a huge business, huge. Men's grooming is massive. It's growing. It was growing a lot faster than actual cosmetology and the women.
Wow.
Yeah.
I
So
didn't even read that.
So
I just read, I think the number I read was $67 billion
yeah,
in a year.
yeah. Probably combined. Yeah,
I was like,
yeah,
what?
yeah. It's big.
I didn't realize.
Yeah.
And they talked about our disposable income as Americans, as our
Yeah.
disposable income grows, as it has over the last few years, then you see an increase in those
Yeah.
numbers. But
Yeah.
super interesting,
Yeah.
this industry. So
And it's diverse. I mean, it depends on how much you want to work. You know, you can make either $50,000 a year or $150,000 a year. You know, really, and that's just behind the chair.
Yeah.
Just depending on how much you want to work.
and how, so I'm going to share this because it's pretty, I think it's very powerful. So my daughter was getting ready to, she had a little speech that she was going to give at school. So we were in a shopping square and she said, "Mom, could I get a haircut?" And she's in 9th grade, so it's starting to matter. So I was like, yes, but it was late and we didn't have an appointment. So we just popped in and to a nice salon, not one of yours, a nice salon here. And they were cutting, but they were getting ready to close.
Yeah.
And there were 3 of them in there and everybody was finished, but
Yeah,
nobody
wanted to take
we're
it.
just talking like just a quick,
Yeah.
but they could have made a for it, because she doesn't,
Sure.
she's just now to the point where I'm looking for somebody for her.
Yeah.
They
Could have been a client for life.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I walked out of there and they were very friendly, but I walked out of there and I thought, well, I probably won't come back here.
Yeah.
Because I explained the situation. She had a speech the next day, and just at the last minute, she was
Yeah.
like, "Mom, can I?" And so,
Yeah.
that
Well,
matters.
Solve problems, be an asset in life.
Yes.
It's that simple.
I told the girls, like, we don't even need a wash,
Yeah.
just a cut, just because I knew they want to go home too.
Sure.
But you have some choices,
Yeah.
you could have a customer
right.
that's going to come back to you every 3 or 4 months.
Absolutely. That one client
That's right.
could send you another 10 or 12 clients.
That's right.
So I say this: you could do 15 clients in one day, charging $150 a pop on every single client, and then your last client, you could get bad customer service. You're only as good as your last client.
Wow.
That's my theory. That's how I look at things. It's all about being consistent, and when you're consistent, you're going to always find success. So
And going the extra mile, all the time.
Yeah.
Take the initiative.
that's right.
take the extra mile.
Yeah, solving problems.
So important.
Yeah.
Okay, so you've given some great piece of advice today.
Okay.
But if there was one last thing you wanted to leave our students with, middle and
Yeah.
high school kids, just one last thing.
I would say this. I would say do everything in love. If you do everything in love, I'm talking about real love, right? There's a word called agape, right? It's unconditional love. If you will try to act in unconditional love in everything that you do, I think you're going to find a lot of happiness and joy in your personal life and your professional life.
It bleeds over.
It does, absolutely. So I think just simply trying to,
Love people well.
love people well, man, and do everything in love. I think when you do that, you bridge a lot of gaps, And
Absolutely.
I will say this, another thing, as a business owner, if people are striving to be that, you're gonna have people leave you, and it hurts because you mentor them, you love on them, but you cannot take that ever personal. So I had the revelation one day where it was, did they leave you a better person? And my answer was, yeah, they left me a better person. And so, well, then I did my job, right? People are going to come into our lives so that we can bless them, we can love on them, we can mentor them, we can teach them how to have a good experience in their personal life and their professional life, right? And if they leave us, as long as we did our job and they left us a better person, then it's okay. There's more people that are going to come into our life, right? So as leaders, which hopefully there's a lot of people watching this that
will be.
that are wanting to be leaders out there, do it in love and don't get offended, and just know as long as they leave you a better person, you did your job.
Absolutely.
So
great counsel. Thank you for being with us today.
I enjoyed this.
I know
It was
your
a lot of
time is
fun.
busy. And I appreciate
Yeah.
it.
Thank you.